In today's chess video, I'm going to show you one of the most dangerous and beautiful attacking weapons for white, the Nakhmanson Gambit. And don't worry, if you play black, I'll also show you the only correct way to survive these deadly traps. Now pay close attention. We begin with the Italian game. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4. All very normal. Black responds with nf6, attacking the pawn. And here comes the first clever idea. White plays d4. At first glance, black thinks, easy, I'll just take on d4 and win a free pawn. So black captures on d4. Now here's the critical moment. Most players would either take back or push the pawn, but not us. Instead, white calmly plays castles. Yes, we completely ignore the pawn. Welcome to the Scotch Gambit. Now that pawn is still hanging, and black does the most logical thing. He grabs it. And according to the engine, this is actually the best move. So what now? Many of you might be thinking, Rook e1, right? But no, because this video is about something far more brutal. This is where the Nakhmanson Gambit begins. White plays the insane-looking move knight c3. At this moment, black is probably laughing. You might be thinking, Shubham, have you lost your mind? You're just giving away a knight for free. But here's the truth. If black takes this knight, the game is basically over. Let me show you why. After pawn takes knight, white strikes with the first sacrifice. Bishop f7 check. Black has no choice. He must take. And then comes the real killer. Queen d5 check. Now pause for a second. There is no block. There is no escape. Black must move the king. He has four options. King e8, most common, e7, f6 or g6. And guess what? Every single one of them walks into a deadly trap. In this video, I'll break down all the variations and I'll show you exactly how white launches a devastating attack. So watch till the end because this gambit can destroy unprepared opponents in minutes. Let's start with king to e8, which is the most natural move and what most players will instinctively choose. Now white doesn't rush. Instead, we play rook to e1 because we are going to win back the knight anyway, so it makes sense to activate the rook first and bring another piece into the attack. At this point, black may try different defensive ideas like bishop e7, d6 or even queen f6. But none of these moves actually fix the core problem. The king is stuck in the center. White's plan is very simple and very powerful. Bring all the pieces into the attack and punish the exposed king. For example, if black plays bishop e7, white captures with the rook. If black then tries d6 to activate the bishop and create some breathing space, white continues the attack by developing the bishop and increasing pressure. Finally, white doubles the rooks on the e-file, creating a strong battery directly targeting the king. As you can see, every white piece joins the attack. The e-file is completely dominated, and black has no safe squares left. This is a crushing position for white and perfectly shows why the Nakhmanson Gambit is so dangerous. Going back, in this position, even if he plays something like h6 to stop the bishop from coming here, then you know what? You can just take the pawn. If he recaptures with the rook, then queen g8 is a stunning checkmate. If he takes with the pawn, then queen h5 check, king f8, we check with the rook, and ultimately, we have the king dancing to our tunes. The engine gives us a massive 10-point advantage in this position. Now let's look at king to e7. In this case, there is no way for black to block the check, so white can immediately capture with the queen and give check. If the king tries to escape by going to d6, white simply continues the attack by bringing all the pieces into action, constantly checking and chasing the king. This is the dream game for white. And here, even if he plays king f6, then after bishop g5 check, the sweetie is gone. Therefore, king f7 is forced. But then you have knight g5 check. If he goes up, then that's a checkmate. So black has to come down. And then after queen f4 check, white have so many attacks that he won't survive long. Say for example, he goes here, then queen f7 check, king h6, then g4, and you have all these moves to finish him off. Let's say he plays g6, then knight e6 check. If g5, then queen h5 is a mate. Now coming back, what if he goes to g6? Again, it's the same idea, queen e4 check. If he goes to h5, then g4 is a brutal checkmate. And if he goes to f6, he again loses the queen, just like this. And if he goes to f7, you have the same idea of knight g5 check with the same mating patterns as we saw in the earlier variation. Alright, coming back to the game, all the traps we saw earlier appeared when black captured with the pawn. But now, let's look at some tricky ideas if black decides to take with the knight instead. First, we simply recapture, and now at least we are not down a piece. However, the danger is far from over. If black now gets greedy and grabs this pawn, he is once again walking straight into trouble. White immediately starts with rook e1 check. Black is forced to block with the bishop, and then comes knight g5, adding huge pressure on the weak f7 pawn. If black decides to castle here, there is one move that puts white in an absolutely commanding position. Queen h5. Now, white is attacking the f7 pawn and at the same time threatening a deadly checkmate. Realistically, black's only option is to get rid of the knight. But after that, white simply recaptures with the bishop, and unbelievably, black's queen is now completely trapped with no escape. This line perfectly shows that even when black avoids the main sacrifice, one greedy move is enough for everything to collapse. Alright, going back. Instead of castling, what if black plays d5 to block the bishop? Well, here comes the match-winning idea. The absolutely stunning knight sacrifice, knight f7, forking both the queen and the rook. At this point, taking with the king is almost forced. And then, white follows up with bishop d5 check, once again dragging the king into the open. No matter where the king moves, white can use the same attacking ideas we saw in the earlier variations: continuous checks, rapid development, and complete domination of the board. In fact, the engine evaluates this position at around +7 for white, which clearly shows just how overwhelming the attack is. But does this mean black has no safe way to deal with the Nakhmanson Gambit? Of course not. Black does have a solution, and it's actually very simple. In fact, there are two clear strategies that completely avoid all these traps. First of all, in this position, taking the pawn on c3 is a huge mistake and leads directly to all the dangerous attacks we just saw. Instead, the best move is to play d5 immediately. By striking in the center right away, black shuts down white's attacking ideas. Now, since the bishop is under attack, white is forced to move it to b5. This gives black a very important tempo to develop the bishop and then castle safely on the king side. In this line, black ends up a pawn up. The king is completely safe and the game becomes almost equal. This is the clean, engine-approved way to neutralize the Nakhmanson Gambit. And that's it for today. That's the Nakhmanson Gambit in action. White's traps are deadly, but black can survive with the right moves. If you like this video, like, subscribe, and comment which trap shocked you the most. Keep practicing, keep attacking, and dominate the board.